The 2006 Jeep Commander is in fact Jeep's largest ever SUV. It has a base price of $40,995 and when fully optioned out will fetch upwards of $60,000. As equipped, the one I'm test driving this week retails for just about $58,500. There are three engines available in the Commander. The first is a 3.7-liter V6 shared with the Liberty, which develops 210 horsepower. The second is a 4.7-liter V8 that puts out 235 horsepower, shared with the Grand Cherokee. And last but certainly not least, the monstrous Hemi 5.7-liter V8, which puts out 330 horsepower and 375 pound-feet of torque. There is but one transmission available with these engines. It is a 5-speed automatic with a manual mode. Equipped in the Limited as part of its standard features is a Quadro Drive 2 all-wheel drive system, which is very, very efficient. It functions perfectly. The only driver input that is required is a quick flick of the switch to engage the 4-low. Otherwise, everything else works on its own. There are no problems. In fact, it's probably one of the best all-wheel drive systems available today in a SUV. So the ride and handling of the Jeep Commander, well, there's certain things you have to accept when you buy an SUV of this size, and there are certain things that are inherent when you buy this type of vehicle. Now, the first one is that the ride is extremely floaty, but there's a very good reason for that. And that reason is because for any vehicle to have good off-roading capabilities, it has to have a lot of wheel travel. Well, the Commander, being as good off-road and in fact trail rated as it is, it needs all that wheel travel. So you're able to crawl over rocks, go through ruts. So when you get on the road and you go through an undulation, let's just say it's of a short amplitude, well, the wheels will dip down, bounce out, and then you'll find yourself floating in and out of the movement long after you've gone through the rut. So small compromise, and obviously lots of body roll when you're going around the corner, so you have to take it easy. But again, this is not the type of vehicle to go around the corner à toute allure. So lots of horsepower. Obviously, when you hit the gas pedal, the truck will move even though it weighs well over 5,000 pounds. Obviously, the biggest compromise when you're coming to a vehicle with this kind of power, this kind of size and weight, is fuel consumption. Now, regardless of what I tried to do, the best I could average was 20.5 liters per 100 kilometers. Second worst to only the Dodge Power Wagon, which was a huge beast on its own. So if you're going to buy one of these vehicles, you have to make sure that you're getting into something that you really need. Otherwise, if you don't need this type of vehicle, forget about it. There's a common design theme on the inside and the outside of the truck. First of all, the design exterior of the Commander is largely based on the old Cherokee, which was very, very popular in the early 80s up until the early 21st century. But Chrysler decided to cut that, but now the Jeep enthusiasts have demanded its return, so Jeep decided, well, let's just make it bigger and better looking. Well, they got the bigger part better looking. Well, that's a question of taste, but definitely by looking at it, you can right away look at the headlights and you find some very, very specific styling cues that bring you back to the Cherokee. An interesting point is that its design is so cubic and the windshield is so vertical that light snow, such as right now, barely accumulates on the windshield. Once you step inside the vehicle, well, again, angles everywhere, straight lines everywhere. You'll be hard-pressed to find a curve. But generally speaking, it's well put together. The choice of materials are pretty good. The navigation screen is located in the upper center portion of the dashboard, unlike the Liberty, where it's much lower down and the screen is much smaller. Everything, all the HVAC controls, audio controls are fairly user-friendly. There are no complications as far as that's concerned. The gauges are straightforward. The seats, front row, very comfortable. They're soft, so they'll be comfortable for a long drive. Second row, there's a lot of room also, especially for elbows and shoulders, perhaps a little bit short on the leg room. And then when you get to the third row, well, that should be left up to adults of a very short stature or children at best. Otherwise, the trunk, when this third row is down, is very, very huge. You can pretty much fit just about anything in there. Of the 3 rows of seating, there's something that is very specific about them. Many manufacturers try to emulate theater seating, so you'll have different levels of seating. Well, in the Commander, it's probably one of the best examples of this type of seating. It's very clearly defined where the front row is lower than the second row, which is lower than the third row. And when you look at the line of the roof, you'll notice that as well. The roof itself, in the limited model, you have the sunroof in the front for the front passengers. And in the second row, you also have two glass roofs or glass panes, which I guess serve also as a sunroof, which can be interesting in some cases, but they also have a little visor that you can pull in front of it if you're not interested in getting the sun on your head. So the 2006 Jeep Commander, well, it's a very imposing vehicle, large size, it's very, very hard on gas, and as I was saying before, you have to make sure that if you're going to purchase a Commander, you know what you're getting yourself into. It's not designed to take the kids to the soccer game, although it certainly can. It's not either the right size, you know, to be driving around in the small streets in the city. This is basically a truck that you're going to be packing up to go to the cottage on the weekend or tow your boat or your trailer or whatnot. So you have to make sure that it'll fit in your garage, first of all, that you'll have a hefty credit line when it comes to gas. Otherwise, if you need a vehicle to go off-roading and you really need something that big and you don't want to drive around in an H2, get yourself a Commander.